Okay, guys. Now, those of you who have been following the series, welcome to the BTM Club in Conversation. Great people we always have. And today we have the mighty Phil Hurtt. What a treat that is for us. Welcome to the show.
Good to be here. Good to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, the honor is all mine, believe me. How have you been with everything that's going on in the States with politics and COVID? I can see you're looking well, and I was greeted by a wonderful smile. So I take it everything's going well.
Everything is going well. It is difficult, with
Yeah.
the political situation and the thing with the virus. But we've been blessed. We've been sort of in a cocoon, and we haven't been able to visit like we wanted to visit, but we do stay in contact with the family. And the children do check in with us. We're able to spend a little bit of isolated time with the grandchildren. We have to protect them. Otherwise, we've been blessed and everything has been pretty well.
And it's easy now. You can stay in contact with people as we are talking now.
and see one another.
That's right. So in some ways, this might be out of evil cometh good, because otherwise we would have been doing a phone conversation, right? And not seeing each other. But now we can see each other. So it makes all the difference. So which part of the States are you in?
New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay. So that's 5 hours difference. Is it 4 hours from the UK?
I think it's 5 hours. 5 hours.
Okay.
It's 1 o'clock here. I think it's like 6 there.
Okay. Yeah. 5 hours. Yeah. So yes, as I say, guys, we have the mighty Phil Hurtt, and what a great musical history he has. I mean, we want to hear the story because, of course, you've got so many UK fans, real music lovers that have been following you back from Salsoul days. That's right. So
what's interesting is that my eldest daughter is always telling me that she said, "Dad, you don't realize how many people love you, how many people like you." And I've always known that there was a faction in the UK that was sort of following, but more and more, the older I get, the more I see that there is some degree of interest there. And I appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, more than a degree. It's a large degree of interest, I have to say. And definitely there's, not that it's ever gone away for us music lovers, I have to say, but there's definitely a resurgence with the old music, calling it rare groove, etc., that has brought it back to life. It's literally giving it a new lease of life.
Yes.
So, that's why it's so important that we stay connected with people like yourself so that we can hear the original stories, because these stories need to be told. They're the music history, and for those that are interested, they love to hear it.
Yeah, there is so much, as you through the journey. I always say it's joy in the journey. There's always pitfalls and things that occur that you wish you could have done things differently. But the story, I'm writing a book, and I've been chided that I haven't finished it. My children, "Dad, you write the book. You've been through so much. You know so much. You got to write the book." So I've been doing that, trying to get that completed. But in the process of doing that, I ran into this COVID thing, and I ran into this political thing, and I ran into memories that things I went through when I was a youngster and when I was in the military and even in the business that I had to go through. And it stopped me in my tracks because there were some things that I had omitted that needed to be included. But there's just so much,
And it's probably that, when you've lived the length of time and experienced many things, you see the cycle start to happen again.
Yes, exactly. And then nobody's made any changes that would help to correct the situation. Hopefully now we've actually seen hopefully the worst of it, political things and the government and COVID hopefully be out on the way out. But we're going through such a tumultuous time in this world, in the universe.
Yeah.
That, as you say, when you live through things like that, you have a lot here and here.
Yeah.
To hold on to. But I don't even know, when you say the story, there's so many stories. I don't know what story you're looking for.
Well, yeah, you're going to share some of them with us today. I mean, at least some, So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Philadelphia. Actually, I was born in Wilmington, Delaware.
Right.
And my parents split, and it's all in the book. And we moved to Philadelphia when I was 3. So I was raised in Philadelphia, and my whole experience had been in Philadelphia, musically and otherwise, educationally, until I decided that I was going in the Air Force, which I did when I was 17. But I had been recording my initial recording with my older brother. We had a group, and we landed a contract with Deluxe Records in New York, which was a subsidiary of King Records.
Okay, I know King Records. I don't know Deluxe, but I know King.
They had a couple of artists on there that were fairly successful, including Billy Ward and the Dominoes. This is going way back. I was 15 years old, 14, 15 years old. But when
you got signed and were releasing music, 15. So when did you first get into music and your instruments and playing? And when did that first happen?
It's interesting. And this is also in the book. I was raised in a church that did not use musical instruments. It was all a cappella.
Oh.
And taking you back a bit, we were located in Philadelphia, but we had churches in different other major cities. And one of the cities was Chicago. And one of the groups that was singing out of that church was the Flamingos. I Only Have Eyes for You, Flamingos.
Yeah.
And also some members were from the Dells. So when
the Dells, okay.
So when they would come to Philly, they would come by the church, and we went to church on Saturday. It was a strange, for me it was strange, but after a while. But it was like a pseudo-Judaism.
Right.
It's kind of a situation. But no instruments, so we all sang a cappella. So we learned harmony by ears, and we never learned an instrument. But music was always flying around in my head. I could always hear things that would make my mother a little disturbed when she would say, "What are you doing?" And I would say, "Well, I'm hearing, I can hear a song. I hear the violins." She says, "Son, you're hearing violins?"
Do I need to take you to see a specialist?
Exactly. But I was a child that read early. I was fairly bright, and I picked up on things easily. And my brother had a couple of groups, and I was always the kid playing cowboys and Indians on the corner with the other kids. And my brother, who was 7 years my elder, would call me off the corner and make me sing with a group he was trying to put together who were much, much older than I. So I was always in trouble with the big guys for out singing them.
So you have siblings, brothers, sisters?
Oh, yes. Yes, older brother passed away, actually, about 8 years ago. I have an older sister.
So were you two the only musical ones, or are there any other musical geniuses in the family?
Well, there were geniuses, but it was the entire family sang. In fact, the church we belonged to was made up of families who all the families sang. And there were times when they would ask the Turners to sing, or the Hurts to sing, or this one to sing. And the families would get up and sing. But when you put the choir together, it was a marvelous choir. It's still there. It's still on the corner of Broad and South Street in Philadelphia. It's called the Church of God and Saints of Christ. You can walk by there any Saturday. Hear some marvelous harmonies that are coming out.
So they've continued it through the generations.
Oh, sure. They've been there. Oh, my goodness. I remember before they got to that building, when I was a young child, they were above Gotham Records. That's another story. But when I was about 10, they moved into the new facility, and that was 60 years ago. So they've been there for a while.
Wow. So you said 15 years old was when you first got signed.
Yeah, we got signed, and we did 2 recordings, and that was in 58. And I went in the Air Force in 59. I was out of frustration, didn't know what I wanted to do. I wasn't happy with the way my brother was handling things. And
I was going to say, because Air Force and music don't really go together.
No, but actually it did. Let me tell you what, because
it sounds like for that to happen, having been signed and already immersed in music, to then say, I'm going to leave that to go to the Air Force, there must have been some kind of turmoil going on with you.
There was.
Yeah.
There was turmoil. And it was also a divine intervention.
Okay.
Because for me to go in when I went, my sister was the one who convinced me. She said, your brother's not handling things properly. You're getting frustrated with what's going on with them. And she said, you need to get away. And I was a senior in high school.
Okay.
I was going to my senior year. And the funny thing about that is Tom Bell was doing the same thing. We were in his class together. We were in the same school at the same time.
Yes, so I've been doing my research, and I see you and Tom Bell were very good friends.
Yes, and the other guy was Bobby Eli. Bobby Eli was also in school with us. But my sister said, you need to just find something. She said, you need to go into service. So I decided I would go in the Air Force, and I had my background in high school. My major was electronics. So I went to take a test. I took the test, and I received good marks on the test to get in service. But I couldn't go into service unless my mother signed, because I was underage. I was 17.
Right.
So she had to contact my dad, who was in Delaware, and I don't want to talk about the guy, but he did sign for me to go in. So I went in, and it was like an education for me, because what it did for me was it gave me some responsibility, and it also gave me an opportunity to find out what I could and could not do. And the people who were in authority recognized things in me and placed me in position, even in basic training of authority. And I realized that I could do certain things, that what I was hearing, what I was feeling was not the truth, but what I allowed myself to experience was the truth. The other part of that was the divine part about it, and I really believe this, is that I went in at 17 and I experienced a lot of things in the Air Force. I was able to sing in the Officers Club as a soloist. Okay. I also formed a group over there. I started writing love letters to my friends when I was in Alaska, love letters for my friends, rather, to their girlfriends for $3. And it also kept...
And all their girlfriends are falling in love with them, but because of you, not because of them.
Right. Right. I got a letter from one guy years later. He said it was my fault that he got a divorce because the letters that I wrote got him married. He shouldn't have married the girl in the first place.
And she was expecting this romance to continue, and it was like, I don't know how to do it.
But the benevolence and the thing that allowed me, made me know that it was something that was inevitable, not inevitable, but it was a blessing for me, was that while I was there, Vietnam broke out.
Right.
And I had volunteered to go to Vietnam, and the sergeant he said, you don't want to go because your life expectancy being in communication, air-to-ground communications, was 5 minutes longer than the guy with the flamethrower. And I said, well, I think I'll go home. So I came home. I was home in 1963, and I got a knock on the door. They came to arrest me because I didn't register for the draft. But you have to be 18 to register for the draft.
Right.
I was in the service at 17. So all the people that I knew in my neighborhood, not all of them, but most of them were in Vietnam. They were coming to get me to send to Vietnam. I didn't have to go because I was a veteran.
Yeah, already.
I was a veteran, yeah. So that point on, I was able to see what was going on in Philadelphia. And I ran into some friends. I ran into Tom Bell on the street when they told me what he was doing musically. And I hooked up with some people and started writing some songs. And that was in the mid-'60s. That's a short story, but that's basically what I went through.
Yeah, because you know what I think, because I've been interviewing a lot of music people now, and I think I'm becoming a bit of a historian, because you guys really are the musical tapestry of my life. So I'm really interested to hear how it all started. So you bump into Tom Bell and you start writing, and
I hadn't seen Tommy since high school.
Right.
He was in touch with my brother, but I hadn't seen him. So when I saw him on the street, he was working at Cameo Parkway then. And I said, what is going on in the city? He told me what was happening. And I started writing. One of the guys that I met in the Air Force, his name was Fred Smith. He followed me to Philly. He came home and he stayed with us for a while. We started writing songs together. And there's another gentleman by the name of Howard Ravitsky that we started writing some songs together. And this is in North Philly, right across the street from the Uptown Theater, a little office there. And so I'm trying to think. There was another artist, Brenda Payton, who wound up being Brenda in the Tabulations.
One Girl Too Late. That's one of their singles. One Girl Too Late.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah,
it was right on the tip of my tongue. Is the one that came to mind. But she was 17 years old then. I was about 24, 25, and we started writing and doing different things. And a girl by the name of Ann Byers. Have you ever heard of Ann Byers?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Look her up. Look her up. We did a couple of things. This is in the 60s, in the mid 60s.
So now I've got to do more research. Thank you for that.
It's on YouTube also. It's on YouTube, Academy Records. But we're working with a guy by the name of Leroy Lovett. Leroy Lovett was an engineer. Remember Patty and the Emblems, Mixed Up, Shook Up Girl?
Yeah.
That one, he did that. But he was doing some other stuff too. And he was running the office for Mercury Records, which actually turned out later to be PIR Records. But he was working there. Huff was working there with them. Huff was doing a lot of sessions. And Howard and I decided to do some tracks on our own. So we had Huff playing piano. We had different guys in the area playing, local musicians. But all of those guys that we were working with later would become, in their own right, writers and producers and arrangers. I'm talking about Bobby Eli, Norman Harris.
And this time frame, what's the time frame that this was happening?
This is happening from mid to late 60s.
Right.
Okay.
Because that's when everything started to hit big in the 70s.
Yeah, when guys started coming together, the initial forming of those labels, there was a couple of labels. It was me and Bunny Sigler had partnered, and it was Leon Huff and Kenny, and Tommy had started working with Linda Creed, late 60s rather, and there was a lot of good things happening, but all of a sudden, let me jump into, because there was a lot of stuff in the middle of all of that, but toward the late 60s, after we had done a lot of local groups, a lot of people that were coming in because they liked the sound that Kenny and them were doing. They wanted Kenny and Huff to produce and do the whole thing, but Kenny and Leon was always thinking about their own label. They had several labels, Gamble, Huff and Puff, North Bay, a whole bunch of labels. But we were doing...
and this is all prior to PIR.
This is prior to PIR. We had actually, Bunny and I had recorded a group called Talk of the Town, which was McFadden and Whitehead, before they went out on their own. We had done a lot of that. And then we started working, I remember when the OJs came in for the second time. And they had, I think Kenny and Leon had made a deal with CBS for PIR. And the first project was, projects I should say, was Billy Paul and the OJs. And the OJs came in, and Bunny and I were sitting in the office, and they were sending them back and forth to the writers' rooms to get material. And we started writing material for them. The sessions were incredible. The vibes were phenomenal. But the thing that hit me, and I tell this story a lot, the thing that hit me most was the experience of the recording of Backstabbers. Because Bunny and I had written 3 songs for it was on the same album because it was McFadden and Whitehead had a couple of tunes. Gamble and Huff wrote a couple of tunes, and Bunny and I wrote a couple of tunes for that album. We had 3 tunes. So we were in the session, and I remember the beginning. You recall the beginning of Backstabber.
That's right. Dun, dun, dun,
dun. Well, that part that goes dun, 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 dun. There was a certain thing that Huff wanted on the timbales. You got Larry Washington and you got Earl Young, but there was something he wanted on the timbales. And it must have been at least 25 tries on that intro before Huff was satisfied with what was happening. But he had actually gotten up and played the timbales on that. He started doing that. But that was fine, and that was wonderful. But when Tom Bell and Bobby Martin came in, I remember sitting in the corner of the studio listening, and we heard this, da, 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 and then I heard strings come, and we looked at each other like, oh my goodness.
What is going on?
Oh my goodness. And that was, I was like blown away. I was blown away.
People are still blown away by Backstabbers, the intro
it's
in 2021.
It's amazing. It was amazing, but to see all of it come together like that, it was another educational process for me to see how it could be, and what we were trying to do. We knew we were trying to do it, but to see it come together like that with all of the talent that was in the room, musician's talent. We knew the song was a great song, but is it going to be acceptable because of, you're talking about you smiling in my face,
Oh, yeah.
Backstabbers are too urban, is it too this or that? But what they did with the arrangement took it out of that.
Yeah. Made it classic.
It made it classic. It made it something else. So that was a song that really affected a lot of what I did after that, my approach to a lot of things after that. But the other thing that hit me was the way that Eddie DeVert sang the song, one of the songs Bunny and I wrote, which was Sunshine, which was the flip side of Backstabber.
Backstabbers, yeah.
But it wound up on the charts also. But when Eddie sang Sunshine, it's one thing when you write a lyric and somebody can sort of talk through it, but when somebody actually gets into it
and gives it life.
Oh my goodness. It makes it a whole, and that was the first time I heard somebody sing a song that I had written that came back to me the way I
intended it. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So that was a big deal for me, and recently I told Eddie about that, and I told Kenny also that was one of the things that I'll never forget. Because when we recorded in 1958, it was, I remember clearly, my memory is amazing, walking in the studio and the musicians were all around the wall, standing up, except for the drummer. Even the piano player was standing up. And we did 2 songs in 2 takes, and they were all standing up, and I'm looking around like, wow, is this how they do it? And one guy, how when they play certain strokes on the guitar, we call it choking the guitar, chink, chink. This guy had a banjo. Like, what's a banjo doing? And I didn't know, But one thing that I never forget about that is there was a sound baffle in front of us that separated us from the musicians. And on that baffle, there was a lot of other groups that had recorded there in Belltone Studios. What was the Book of Love guy, the Motowns, the Del Vikings, all the different groups from way, way back, the doo-wop group, all had signed their names on there. I wish I could find that baffle today. It's probably worth a lot. But it's not there also, but that was a good experience.
So your time, you were both at Philly and Salsoul.
Well, here's what happened with Salsoul. I did a lot of background work with Salsoul. Is that what you're talking about? Right.
Yeah.
One of the things that happened during that growth period is that I was being sought after for background work. In fact, there's a Bunny Sigler, I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
And there's another guy by the name of Carl Helm, who the 3 of us, along with the Sweeties from time to time, were actually the background groups for some of the groups that you hear. We were actually the background. We had the lead singer, but the other guys never came to the studio. We were the group in the studio. So we did a lot of that with Salsoul Records. We did a lot with, I also did some work in New York City with Milt Grayson and Yolanda McCullough and Frankie Floyd. They were background singers. So I was always doing a lot of work, whether it's producing or writing or singing or whatever I was doing. It just worked. It's worked. It was just a lot going on, and you could be producing a record in one part of the studio and then run downstairs and do background for somebody else to come back up and finish. That's how it was. And everybody was doing the same thing. That whole crew was always doing this.
But I mean, 2 phenomenal record labels, but particularly PIR, simply because of the amount of talent that was under one roof. I mean, if you list the names from Phyllis Hyman, Teddy Prendergast, Patti LaBelle, Billy Paul, it just gives you goose pimples talking about it.
It's amazing. You have to understand, Teddy Pendergrass was actually the drummer for the Blue Notes. And Billy Paul, way, way back in the mid-'60s, Billy Paul was a club singer. He was singing in clubs around Philadelphia. And so was the Blue Notes. So was our group. And I remember seeing Bobby Eli. Bobby was playing for a couple of, I'm trying to think, he played for the Vibrations and someone else.
The Vibrations, yes.
Yeah, he was playing, everybody was doing different things. But I remember I was trying to play guitar, and I was playing in a little band, and around town. You run into guys. I ran into Bob. I hadn't seen Bobby since high school. Then we were doing a date at a place called the Blue Horizon. And I was in a group, I'm playing guitar, and Bobby's in the group, he was playing guitar in the other room. And we ran into each other. I'm like, hey, man, but I found out later on that it was best for me to hire people like Bobby to play because my head was somewhere else.
Yeah. Not on the guitar.
But you could see guys around town and down at Atlantic City at different clubs playing. They were doing things. Those guys eventually started doing this. So when you talk about Teddy, you talk to Teddy, but Teddy was, as a matter of fact, during that time, Teddy wasn't part of the Blue Notes. That happened much, much later, just before. He started playing drums just before they got with PRI, right? Definitely. But Teddy was one of those guys who had more than drumming talent. And like I said, when you're hanging around all of this, it will emerge. If they allow it, it will emerge. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
It showed up.
But I mean, Salsoul and PIR, what a great place to be musically. I mean, the legacy that it has left is untouchable.
For sure. And you may or may not realize that the musicians are the same musicians.
Well, this is what I wanted to come to now. Like, who's interviewing who here? What's going on? What's going on?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I've heard the story, but I'm not quite sure, so I want to get it from the horse's mouth. There seems to be some connection between the band that was PIR's band and Salsoul.
Yeah.
But now I can get clarity from the man himself.
It's very easy. They're the same people. They're the same, and they're the Monster Orchestra. It's the same people. What was happening during that time? There were a lot of people coming from different parts of the world trying to capture that sound, and they would actually use MFSB and some of the guys out of the group to capture that. Earl Young, especially for the Four on the Floor. They would come in and they would record, and then they put a name on it, and they would call it something else. But it's actually the guys, MFSB guys, that are playing.
Yeah, because it's funny as you listen to the music, and if you've been studying it back from then as a novice, not being a musician like yourself, but you can hear similarities. But it's almost as if they thought, well, we're doing it for these lot now, so let's change the sound slightly. Because you can listen to the Philly tunes and you can listen to Salsoul and you think, yeah, you've got that big orchestra sound going on, but there's something slightly different.
What the difference is who's up front. When you have Salsoul Orchestra, you got Vince Montana, who played the vibes.
Yeah.
You may get a little different flavor. And when you get Lolita Holloway, when you get some of her music, and you get Norman Harris, who's doing the arrangements, and you get my friend, his name escapes me, but you get different people. When you're doing Eddie Kendrick, and you got Norman Harris again, but then you've got Thomas Conway, or somebody else doing something else. Or you get a Tom Bell arrangement, you get a whole different kind of feel, But it's the same musicians, and they're being used in a different way. Ritchie Rome is another one. Ritchie Rome, woo,
just phenomenal.
Yeah, but you get a whole
phenomenal era for talent, and I mean, I guess talent goes all through history, but it just seems that era from 60s, it went Motown, Salsoul, PIR. We couldn't afford to buy the music at the rate it was coming out, basically. It was like we were having to choose either this, okay, keep that for me till next week. Yeah, I'm coming back for that next week. It was really like that. The rate at which this music was coming out, it was crazy.
You're right. And we were crazy. We were all over, we were everywhere. I mean, you couldn't hardly book the studio. You were booking the studio overnight. Yeah, it was amazing. And I know Joe had to open a studio in New York City because he was doing so much work. And a lot of work was coming out of New York too. I mean, they would come from everywhere, trying to capture that sound.
And I mean, I saw a lovely picture of you up on social media with Dexter, who I interviewed a couple of weeks ago, and Gene Carn,
Right.
and you're all shaking hands.
Yeah.
So what was that about? Was that a celebration of something?
There's an organization in Philly that were trying to identify the iconic figures.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sound of Philadelphia, and we did 2 or 3 different poses on the steps of the Philadelphia Museum, the steps that Rocky ran up in the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
So they did a photo there of these iconic figures, and I was blessed to be included in that grouping. They did a couple of them like that, but you know, I don't know. I guess I'm at that point now where they said, "You better take this picture now."
Exactly. Take this picture now. Don't wait. Who knows?
Don't wait.
Who knows what's around the corner?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's 50 years of PIR this year.
Yeah, 50 years. 50 years. And you know, it's a shame that a lot of the guys, when I listen to, and I do frequently listen to the music that we had done, and some of my friends have done. Some of us are still around, and we do communicate, the writers and so forth. I actually can see them when I hear it. I can see it, you know. Yeah. So for me, it's not just listening to it. I can actually see Larry Washington. You know, I can actually see him on the congas.
Because you were there in real time. That's the thing.
You were there.
You were there.
So it hits me in a different place. I enjoy it. I mean, because I can't. I'm listening to it. I'm there. I'm there. You know, I can see it. I hear the questions about can you write this song for me? And I remember sitting in the studio and given a track and started just writing a lyric for it, you know, while I'm sitting there and helping that way. Or getting at 4 o'clock in the morning, I get a phone call. Oh, we need you to come with the background because it's not working. We need you to get here. Oh my goodness. And I'd go to the studio in the middle of the night to help. If I needed some help, I would call them and they would come to help me. But that was the kind of things it was a really, really busy time. It was you didn't have time to really take care of a lot of business. You were hopefully that you had the right people handling you, which usually you didn't. But your focus was always the music, and that's why I always say it's joy in the journey. Because if you ask anybody what they would like to do, is I would say do it over again, because that's where the joy is. You say to yourself, if I can just get one song recorded, I'll be happy. If I can hear one song on the radio, I'll be happy. If I can get one gold record, I'll be happy. But it doesn't stop there. Yeah. You want to continue. You want to continue to share. You want to continue that camaraderie. You want that whole thing to continue. And when it starts to subside and stop, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, but that's one of the things of a creative, an artist. It never stops for as long as you have breath in your body, for as long as you have life. You still have those creative juices flowing, and you always want to bring something new out and share it.
Right.
You know, that's what I would say. Every musician, every artist wants whatever they bring out everywhere. Yeah. They don't want a DJ to hold it as an exclusive that only they're playing it. Every artist wants everyone to have it and enjoy it.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. You know? Yeah.
And of course, as you said, you go right back there when you hear these tunes, and that's one of the qualities that music has. It takes you right back to the place that you were at the time.
Yeah.
What you were wearing, who you were with, where you were going. It's all as if you're there.
Yeah. And you feel a little sad because with as you said, the new notoriety that the music is getting now, the new spotlight is getting, that those guys don't realize what's happening now. You know, the guys who passed on. If they could just see how the songs have been sampled, you know, covered, and now this new spotlight on it. I mean, if they could just see that, you know, it'd be awesome, you know. But
yeah. And I mean, I think that's the important thing, because what I love about the musicians of that era, those that are still around and are still creating, they're still creating new stuff. Mm-hmm. They're still making new stuff. They're not sampling anybody's stuff. Yeah. You know, they're not sampling anybody's stuff. They're still creating new stuff, and people are still sampling their old stuff. Some people don't even know where it's come from.
Right. You're right. Yeah, we know
You
that.
know,
We know.
some people don't even know where it's come from. So, like Lolita Holloway's "Not Runaway," Black Box did it.
Right.
Um, Love Sensation. That's it. It's come to me. Love Sensation.
Okay. All right.
Sampled, was a big hit for Black Box. Nobody knew who Lolita Holloway was. Nobody knew Love Sensation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
Right.
so I think it's really important that these stories get out there and know, well, you know what? This is the original.
Yeah, that happens a lot. That happens a lot with this. I get a lot of samples. I'm having sampled by a bunch of people, and sometimes they forget to get permission to do it. Then you have to.
I don't think they forget.
Yeah.
I don't think they forget. That's the polite way of putting it.
I was being kind.
Yeah.
And then we have to go after them. You know, but for the most part, most people are sensitive enough to just go ahead and do it the right way. Yeah. And I have no problem with samples. It helps us a great deal. I don't get angry about it.
Yeah, but it's flattering, really.
It is.
But at least let me know. You know, just let me know.
I've had to contact my publisher from time to time and say, you know, for example, Lil Wayne just covered a particular song. We didn't hear it. I said, well, I have to send them a copy or whatever because they didn't get permission. You know.
Yeah.
So then they go and take care of it. Other than that, we have a lot. I mean, Jay-Z and LL Cool J and Christina Milian and Lil Wayne and Rappin' Forte, and there's a whole bunch of people. Covers, we get a lot of covers. It's a blessing.
And yeah, you know, some of the covers are great.
Yeah.
But when I'm playing on my radio show, I always do this thing called the version excursion. So I play the original first,
okay,
and then play the sampled version.
Okay.
And you know, I get the emails coming through. Going, I didn't know it was. Yeah. I thought it was neat. No. Yeah. And if you know that musical library, if you have that musical repertoire, the minute you hear it start, you're going, no, that's a Jones Girls tune. Yeah. No, that's a Phyllis Hyman tune.
I do it all the time. With my kids, when they were growing up, they would say, "Oh, this is a song." No. I have to go and play it for them. They say, you know, a lot of people thought that it was a song. It wasn't one of our songs, but it was a commercial. That they thought the artist had stolen the song from the commercial.
Yeah.
That's Burger King. That's not Burger King.
That's Burger King. I don't think so. Yeah. So when did you go then to Fantasy Records? Because you then had your singles on Fantasy.
Yeah, that was that came out of some work I was doing with Ritchie Rome in LA on a group called the Checkmates.
Right.
I had just done some stuff with the Village People. That's a whole nother story.
I knew you would have stories. That's why we're talking. I knew you.
Village People story is another story. I don't know if I should go there first or go to. Let me do the Village People first, because that came after. Well, I did the Ritchie Family too.
Yeah.
But to do all of that, I got to take you back to what you were talking about earlier about these different people coming in to do music out of Philly. You got time?
I've got time.
Okay.
This is your time.
Okay.
This is your time.
Coming out of PIR, when we had a few differences. There were some differences there that I wasn't about to agree to. So I was about to leave PIR, and I got a phone call from Ritchie Rome out of Sigma Studio. He was in the studio working with some French producers that wanted a lyricist to work with. I didn't know anything about these guys. The guys' names were Jacques Morelli and Henri Bellelot from France. Okay? They called me on the phone. They had an idea for a song. They cut the tracks already, and they wanted lyrics for it. I said, okay, fine. So I had to meet them in a hotel in Philly. Went in, they played these tracks. The tracks were smoking, and I recognized what it was. It was MFSB playing those tracks. And what they had done was put a compilation of songs together, and they were calling the song The Best Disco in Town. But they didn't know how to connect it. So they said, can you do this? And
right, because that's Ritchie Family, best disco in town, right?
Yeah. And the producer was screaming at me. He didn't have any idea of melody, but he knew he wanted what he was trying to do. So I took it home. I wrote 2 sets of lyrics, and I brought it back and I had one in my back pocket, and the other one I gave to him, and I sang it for him. He says, "Darling, this is awesome. I love it." And so they used it. It was fine, no problem. Then he wanted me to do a lot more, but I'm going to jump now to the next step. We had done a Best Disco in Town was a hit, a big disco hit. And he wanted to do then the African Queens album after this Best Disco thing. Then he told me in the studio, "Darling, I have a concept for a group. It's a gay concept. I know you're not gay, but I want to do this gay concept." And I said, "Oh, okay, fine. Just give me a call. Let me know what you want to do. I'm trying to speed up for you." So he gave me a call 6 months later, and he had cut these tracks. And I'm thinking that the tracks were smoking. I'm like, these tracks are the same guys, but it wasn't. It was Philly guys, but some young guys that I knew that were coming up behind him.
Oh, okay.
A group called Gypsy Lane, and these guys were killing it. Like, okay, I'm feeling good. So he says, he gave me some tracks, and he said, "This is called San Francisco, and this is called Hollywood, and this is called Village People." I said, whatever. So I went home, wrote the song San Francisco, and he calls me and he said, "I want to do it tomorrow. I need you up there." I said, okay, fine. So we did San Francisco, laid the tracks down. When I walked in, he had 4 background singers. No, it was 3 background singers. Milt Grayson, a guy named Victor Willis, and another guy, I don't know his name now. But I laid a vocal track down, and we put the background tracks down. And Jacques says to me, darling, you're going to be the lead singer for the Village People." I said, "No, I'm not."
Like that. No, I'm not.
No, I'm not. I said, that's not what I got. Some other things that I want to do. He said, "But you're going to be the lead singer. You're going to be." No. I said, "But you know what?" I said, "There's a guy in the background that has one of them husky voices that could, shout and holler, and I can't do all that." I said, "But you could try." He said, No, I want you to do it." I said, "No, I can't do that." So he says, "Teach him the song, and we're going to go to lunch." So that's what I did. I took the guy in the other studio, taught him the song, and in the meantime, Jacques says, "We're going to do Hollywood today also." I said, "I haven't written Hollywood yet." So I wrote Hollywood in the studio too that same day.
Jacques sounds very high maintenance.
Yeah, he was very high maintenance. We come back to the studio and put Victor on the microphone, and he sings his tune, and I'm directing, coaching at him. I'm like, Jacques says, "Okay, he'll be okay." And I'm like, okay. I'm trying to stay on good terms, but I didn't want to be involved in that. Engineers laughing at me, But that was how that first album got done. I did some other songs too, but I told you that to keep it in sequence so you know what I did. From there I wound up in California with Richie Rome doing a group called the Checkmates, and I got a phone call from Jacques because the album went gold in about 90 days. It went gold.
Really?
He wanted to get back to the studio to do the second album, and I couldn't because I was obligated to what I was doing. And I said, "As soon as I finish this, I'll be back in New York." He said, "Okay, fine." Had a couple of weeks to finish that. I called up and I said, "I'm on the way back." He says, darling, you can't come back." I said, "Why?" "Because Victor Willis said he'll quit." I said, "What do you mean he'll quit?" See, Victor was now the lead singer.
Okay.
He wanted to write the songs. You see? And he said, if Phil Hurtt comes back, I'm going to leave the group. That's the truth. That's what they told me. I'm like, are you kidding me? I will leave the group if he comes back here. So they didn't want me to come back. So that was Macho Man, YMCA. That's what happened there. But while I was out there in California, to get back to the original question, the Checkmates contacted Fanny and said, "So you got to record this guy. This guy's got a fabulous voice." I'm like, "I got a fabulous voice, really?" Because I was helping them with their background, because that's what I did. And I was actually singing some things with them. And they heard me singing, and they were like, "You need your own stuff." But I didn't want to necessarily do disco. But that's what I was almost.
That's how it always tends to happen, though, isn't it? You're kind of a great backing vocalist, great on BBs, and somebody says, you know what, you should be doing this for yourself.
Yeah, that's what
you know.
That's how I got. How I wound up on Fantasy Records, working with them. And I was still
Sylvester was there with 2 tons of fun.
Sylvester,
right?
yeah, Sylvester, he was a very nice guy.
Yeah,
flamboyant and crazy, you know. But I remember we were in New York. They told me when my first record came out, he was saying, we want you to go with Sylvester to all of the discos. And Sylvester had me laughing the whole time I was in the limousine with him and his assistant, I guess it was. And going around to all of the discos, and everywhere he went, he was, oh, Sylvester, you know, oh, this is good. Oh, we heard your name before, you know. But he was the star. Absolutely. Yeah. And I made the mistake of reaching for the door handle on the limo. He slapped my hand. He said, Donnie, let me show you how to be a celebrity, how to be a star. Waited for the driver to come around. But he was an awesome guy. He was really very, very talented. I loved his voice. I mean, just tremendous person. Yeah.
So you got to go to Fantasy. You got to record this guy.
Yeah.
And you had 2 singles, of course.
I had 2 albums.
2 albums, right?
What happened? 2 things happened. I was on the way to the UK, and they canceled it out for me. Disco started when it went down, which is where I didn't want to be anyway. It just died. 79. It just was. It didn't really die. It just got pushed aside.
Yeah, the sound changed.
Yeah, there was a big push to destroy it. There was a hate disco movement kind of a thing that was going on. They were burning records in Chicago. It was a mess. So everything sort of just died.
But Giving It Back was a big hit, though.
Giving It Back and Boogie City.
Boogie City.
I get a call from time to time from people here in the States and in Europe. You know, can you come or can you call or can you do something? Because Boogie City and Giving It Back we're still playing it and it's still hot.
Yeah.
And I haven't been motivated. My wife tries to motivate. My kids try to motivate me. Dad, why don't you do? You know, it's been the business part of it has been a disappointment for me.
Really?
Because of all of the shenanigans that was going on back during the 80s, 70s, going into the 80s. I couldn't be a part of all of the nonsense, and I have been burned. And I got more stories. I'm not going to tell you some things that you would take the top of your head off.
Oh, no, I don't want to lose that.
Things that happen that shouldn't have happened, even though you have a contract in your hand.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I know about myself now is that I was always a person, and the military actually helped me with this. There was a team player. You know, if I'm in business with you or you're my partner, then you're always going to know where I am, mentally, physically, spiritually. You're going to know what's going on with me. You'll know me, and that won't change.
Yeah.
So if I'm part of that team, we're teammates, then I'm not going to do you any harm because we're part of a team.
And I guess you have that because of the discipline being in the military taught you.
That's what I'm saying. And also my family.
You know, those that didn't necessarily have that training or sense of discipline, they don't get it. They just think, well, I can come when I feel like, or if I change my mind, I don't really feel like. And even though we've agreed to, yeah, well, I don't feel like it today, or something better has come up. And, you know.
And it got to be to that point where if I'm part of a team, I'm going to do all I can do. And I expect you to do the same thing. And I don't expect you to backbite me. I said, what it was doing to me, I didn't like, so I had to
step away.
Yeah, and it was good for me to do that.
It was, because if you hadn't stepped away, you wouldn't have that energy and spirit that you have, and you wouldn't have that smile that you greeted me with, because you'd be bitter and twisted.
And twisted, like I said before, it was totally, you know, a spiritual thing for me. You know? Yeah, because then I got involved more in my church. And I started doing some mentoring and working with video, audio, and things like that. Still writing, because I have when I wake up, I still have songs in my head.
But that will never go, will it? Because that's what you started with. You're a songwriter. Come on.
That's what it is.
That's never going to go anywhere.
And I flash back to when my elder brother we talked about would write songs. My mother bought an old Wallen Sack tape recorder, one of those big heavy things, and he would put songs down on them. And we'd go to work, and he'd come back, and I would put lyrics to it, and I would sing it to him. You know, I didn't know you could do that. You know, and that's the best part. I was about 10, 11 years old then. Just, you know, because I read early. I like to read. I like to listen to music, and I would listen to classical music and all kinds of things. But it sort of instilled a lot in me musically.
Yeah.
With me.
So the book. Tell me about the book. The book.
The book has so much in it.
I'm sure.
What I want it to be is a roadmap of my life in music, and also a how can I put this? I don't want to use the word milestone, but a marker for younger writers, business-wise, how to handle their creativity, try to understand the creativity. My thing, as my kids tell me, my oldest daughter told me I have a syndrome. I didn't know what this was. She said, "Dad, you have what's known as imposter syndrome." I didn't think that was a thing until I looked it up, and I said, "That actually, I don't feel worthy."
Yeah.
I don't feel like I have to pump anything up, so I can write it down. If I write it down, people can see. Younger people can see what happened to me, what I went through, what you should and should not do, how you should be feeling about certain things. I am now 78 years old, be 79 in April. Earl Young is 80. We have to talk about these things now. So I really want it to be a guide. I really want it to be a guide that they can look at and say, this is not fiction. This is reality. This is what happened. This is what can happen. This is what did happen, you know. And if they can read that, they'll get a chuckle out of it. They'll be shocked by it. They'll understand some things.
And I mean, the thing is, as you say, you were in it, you were enjoying it, but things weren't going as you would have liked. But now, in the comparison to how the industry is, it's completely different.
Oh, yeah. You don't. The people that I knew and I was dealing with then are gone, either physically or just out of that position. And it's a whole different thing now. And it's more discouraging to me because it was more of a hands-on, talking to people back and forth. And now it's you have to have a lawyer to have another lawyer to have an accountant to go and talk to somebody. You know.
Yeah, and just the whole way the industry is run, the way it's promoted, the way it's completely different, you know, with the intervention of social media. You know, it's completely changed.
Yeah, it is changed. It is. And if you're independent, you really have a problem. If you're independent writer, independent record company, record label. Because I did a project called Soulful Tale of Two Cities. I don't know if you heard that or not. There's a project where I had Philly guys and singers doing Motown, and Motown singers doing Philly. Did you hear about that? You didn't hear that? I gotta send you a copy. I'll send you a copy.
Please do.
I did. We had a double pocket CD with a booklet in it, and I had. We cut all of the Motown songs in Philly, and then we flew out to Detroit and cut all of the Philly songs in Detroit with the Funk Brothers and some of the guys from MFSB. We had Lamont Dozier, Frida Payne, the Velvelettes, Bobby Taylor from the Vancouvers. I forgot. We had a bunch of people. And the Funk Brothers. Then in Philly we had the Delphonics, Blue Magics, lead singers. We had the Tramps, lead singer. We had 3 Degrees. We had I can't think about it. We had a bunch of art. Oh, we had Funk Master.
Right.
Who's the Funk Master? I should know his name off the top of my. I should know this.
Well, if you don't know, I don't know.
Problem Funkadelics.
Okay.
What's his name? One Nation Under a Groove.
George Clinton.
George Clinton. Can you imagine George Clinton singing "Love Won't Let Me Wait"?
Is that on a copy of what you're sending me?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, I would definitely want it now.
Absolutely.
I want to hear George Clinton singing a love song.
Love Won't Let Me Wait.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had Gene Carn, just a bunch of people, and it was a dream that I had that I wanted to do, and it cost a bit to do it, flying back and forth and the mixes and the whole thing. My daughters put the package together. It was a family thing, and got caught by the internet. Once the internet grabbed it, it was and this was in 2006. You know, before I realized what was going on out here, you know, it just blew up.
Okay, 2006. So I'm 15 years behind, but better late than never.
My wife who just walked in.
Hello. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it's a wonderful package. Yeah.
I excitedly await my arrival of my double CD with George Clinton singing a love song.
You won't believe it. It's incredible. We had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and we enjoyed it. But this is the...
Okay, nice packaging.
Yeah, my children did it. They did the whole thing. You know,
nice packaging.
And the booklet. It's inside. With photos and things. You know, a whole... I think that's Free to Pain.
Yeah. Wow.
10 mils from Blue Magic. But it was a great project. Great, you know, sounds great. I mean, it was an awesome thing. And I
mean, with the people that are involved, it goes without saying it's going to sound great, right? So you don't need to punctuate it with that. That's a given.
It was fun. It was fun. And that was a dream that I had that I was able to accomplish. Not with the ending, the result of it wasn't what I would hope for, but artistically and the fact.
Well, that's really something to take Philly to Detroit and Detroit to Philly. That's something special.
You know what happened? And I'll share this with you. When we walked into the studio with the guys, when the guys from Philly met the Funk Brothers for the first time, they cried. They were so happy that they finally met each other. They were like, man.
Because they're both musical legends.
Yes.
But we've never met physically, but, you know.
They would say, you know, I like that tune when you guys played this. And they, you know, oh, I like this one. And they were, but when the initial meeting was, oh, man, you know, whoa, dude.
I believe I'm seeing you in person.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, awesome. So that was, for me, it was a good feeling.
So when is the book coming out?
My wife, who's sitting in front of me now, is looking at me like,
yeah,
pushing me. She said, "You better have
to hold you to task with the time. I got
to get it done within the next few months, hopefully by June. So it'll probably be out by the end of the year.
And you know, I definitely want a copy of that as well when it comes out.
I'm making it. Barrie wants a copy. Make sure
and that's Barrie with an IE, not a Y.
Yes. Yes. She said, make sure she gets your address.
She definitely will.
Yeah.
Well, Phil, it has been an absolute pleasure and honor to talk to you. And, you know, it's hearing the stories.
Let me tell you, you haven't heard half. But
we're going to have to come back and do a part 2.
It'll be in the book because I'll take your whole day because there's so many people. And I'm so grateful for. So I thank God for so much that didn't happen. That could have happened to a young man like me.
Yeah.
In fact, when I walk, I have some pictures that are hanging up, and I walk by the pictures, and I have to apologize to myself. I look at the picture and I say, "Hey, man, I'm sorry." But I thank you for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to share.
My pleasure. My absolute pleasure. I'm looking for my CD with George Clinton singing a love song. I'm waiting for my book. And what can I say? Now, I thought you guys of PIR, those of you that are left, would be doing something to celebrate 50 years.
Yeah, well, we don't have control over that. It's the guys who is gamble and help to have to do that. I would have thought one of the things that I really thought they would do was have a museum, of Philadelphia, Sound of Philadelphia, but that doesn't exist right now. Maybe they'll do it later, but I would like to be here to see it.
They need to hurry up. They need to hurry up.
Hurry up, yeah, because we're all the same age,
Yeah.
That's one of the things I wish they had done. Preserve the studio. So because people are calling, I still get calls. People, where's the place? It's 309 is gone. There's a hotel there now, and they were going to turn Sigma into an apartment. They finally blocked that and made it a historical site, but the studio itself is not there. And those are the things that I was hoping that they would preserve.
Yeah, I mean, the studio is the everything. The studio is the everything that is PIR.
Everything.
Yeah, it's everything. Well, once again, thank you very much for talking to us. It's been an absolute pleasure. And as I say, I love hearing the background and the stories, and those that follow the music, you know, they're as thrilled as I am to have you here talking to us and telling us the background. So thank you so much. And
all of my UK family, I love you, and they're still contacting me. I love you madly. Maybe one day I'll get over there.
Yes, when all this craziness is finished.
Yeah,
definitely.
Right. Thank you so much, my friend.
Likewise. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time.